Okay guys, let's go ahead and continue on with this perspective series that we've been sort of started last week. This is going to be some rudimentary two-point perspective ideas. Last week we did a one-point perspective that looks much like this one here. And before that we used a 8-point drawing method, or the isometric drawing method. The important thing that you need to understand about almost all drawing techniques is that they usually only use 3 direction lines, and this is just the same. With the 8-point method, you normally use no more than just either vertical lines or sort of like this, vertical lines, or they went off into direction 1, or what we call direction 7, staying away from the horizontal line. Okay, again, it's a method. It uses 3 direction lines. Now, in the one-point perspective technique, which is this one here, we already figured out that we are again using only 3 direction lines. In this case, the line would either be vertical, or they would be horizontal, or they go to this point here. And of course, no matter where you go, that point changes in multiple numbers of directions, but the concept is the same. Vertical, horizontal, or to the point. Vertical, horizontal, or to the point. That's the way that sort of all works. Now, the two-point perspective method, again, is only about 500 years old, and it's going to use the same idea, but there's a little bit of a twist to it. We're going to go ahead and start off with a horizon line, and the horizon line, of course, is the imaginary line at the artist's eye level. And it's going to go all the way across like this. And instead of using one point in the center, we're now going to put a point over here in the far right-hand side, and we're going to refer to this as the right vanishing point. And on the other side, we're going to put another point over here, and this is going to be the left vanishing point. It works kind of like that. All right, we're going to go ahead and set ourselves up here, and somewhere in the middle of the picture, and I always still like to find the middle of the picture. It's always a good reference of where I am on the page. Okay, so we're going to use that as that reference part. Again, to find the center, you run the diagonals across, and you can, where they cross, you can find it there. What we're going to do is start off with a vertical line right underneath that vanishing point right there, and it's going to be about an inch or a thumb's distance from the bottom. And we're going to call this segment B, just as a reference. And then halfway between segment B and the border, we're going to put another about a 1-inch line that looks something like this here. Try to keep them in alignment, and what I mean by that is if I put a horizontal line across from here to here, they would share a common top and a common bottom. And we're going to call that segment A. Now we're going to come over to the right hand or the right bottom quadrant of our picture. We're going to put another 1-inch segment over here. It's going to be in alignment with the others. It's going to be about an inch away from the border, about an inch away from the border on the bottom. And we're going to call this segment C. We're going to first start off with segment B because it's the most like a common cube that we see. It's most like the 8-point drawing method or the isometric drawing method. Now this rule is very simple. All lines are going to be vertical to the right point or to the left point. Again, only 3 direction lines. And we'll show you how that works here. We're going to come over to the bottom and we're going to designate a point here. And then we're going to go ahead and run an extension line back to the vanishing point. Remember, start off very, very lightly. And multiple lines are always better than a single line, so keep that in mind. We're going to come off the same point. And now we're going to run it off to the left vanishing point. And it's going to be the same thing here, okay? Multiple lines. We're going to pick the best ones, keep them very light. They're going to be layout lines. Now to check the accuracy of those lines you just put in there, you can lay your pencil down over here on the sides. It's not important that you trace it or use it as a straight edge. I don't want that to happen. Just sort of give an eyeball the way it's going. And you can see whether or not you're kind of close or not. It doesn't make any difference as long as the general direction is about the same. Once we get those checked and ready to go, now we're going to go up to the top line, or the top of the segment B. We're going to do the same thing again. The angles change slightly. They go off to the point here on the right side, and then they go off to the left over here. Let's see how this kind of works. And this constitutes the three direction lines that we're going to use. Vertical, right vanishing point, left vanishing point. We're going to go ahead and close this off now, about 1 inch away from our original B segment. We're going to put a vertical line in here and then one on the other side. And as you can see now, a cube is starting to form inside of here. Pretty simple to figure out. You can see how it lines up here, right side, left sides, and now we need to do the top. The way to figure out the top is you're going to go up to the corner, and just like in the flag shapes, the letter shapes, and the step forms, all that kind of stuff, whenever a line changes direction or a corner form, a new line is created. We take a corner inventory, which means this corner is created with a vertical line and a left vanishing point. And since there's only 3 direction lines that we can use, and we have 2 of them here, there's only one answer to the problem. This one goes off to the right vanishing point, like this here. This is a rather symmetrical object here, so we're going to go to the right shoulder, and the same thing's going to happen again. Take a corner inventory. This corner is created with a vertical line and a right vanishing point, so that only gives us one alternative left, which means this is going to go to the left vanishing point, just sort of like that. So you can see now I have a very light sketched in layout of this cube. So we're going to go back and keep the lines that we want to do. Yes, there's mistakes in there. You don't have to worry about erasing them. We're going to come back in and we're going to darken in the baseline, which is just sort of a scribble type thing. I do not connect them in the corner there. Then what I do is I sort of hammer in this line a little bit here. Okay, in other words, we're going to get it a little bit more defined so I know which ones I'm going to keep. And I'm not much on erasing, but this makes it a little bit easier to understand. I take out a little bit, or I just disconnect those lines on there. Now, I'm not going to take time out to go ahead and actually redefine or go ahead and re-establish the cross contour line here. Remember, contour is the outside edge of the picture, and that's or the object, and we got that going in here. The lines on the inside here are called cross contour lines because they're crossing from one contour to another contour, or the outside edge. Do not need to define those, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shade this in. It's going to work like this. Again, we're going to hatch it in. Doesn't need to be perfect. I'm going to make this one on this side here. And even without redefining those edge of the lines, the hatching and the cross hatching has a tendency to create those edges, even though they're not there. I'm going to use the cross shading over here. But the interesting thing about the cross shading is that they head towards the left vanishing point also. And that's the way you create that. Wherever there's shading, has to be shadow. And it's going to follow the same rules. It's either going to be vertical to the right vanishing point or to the left vanishing point. We're going to stick with the standard, which is the light source coming from the top right hand corner. And so I'm going to choose the right vanishing point to extend these lines out. Even on the back side, it would go straight out to the right vanishing point. Okay, I'm going to drop right through there. You don't have to, that's an imaginary. And then we're going to pull this down across like this. All lines going to the right vanishing point. Sort of like that. And then Like I've told you on different things, the light source is always from the top right hand side, and we always imagine it's going to be at a 45-degree angle, which means it's going to be kind of coming down to angles like this here. Alright, sun always comes down there. So what we're going to do now is find this point here. We've already found it. The light comes in. It's going to go through. It's going to continue at 45-degree angle. And where it crosses the baseline here, a new point is formed. That point goes back to the left vanishing point, kind of like this here. And now we know where the extreme of the shadow is going to be. Take your eraser, come back, clean it up a little bit. Again, this is not rocket science at this point, so we're not really all that concerned about making it perfect. We're going to just sketch these in really, really quick. All right, let's go over to A now. We're going to do the same exact thing very, very quickly. Here's our segment A. We're going to go ahead and run lines either vertical to the right vanishing point. You don't have to drag them all the way across. But what's going to happen here on the left vanishing point, the point goes up a lot sharper. Okay, and how far should we take it? That's why I like to drag all these lines across, is because now I have a line here already drawn. Really convenient. It just worked out nice for me. Now it might not have worked out for you, and you may have to go ahead and pull it down. Let's go ahead and close this off with a vertical line. We're going to run this back to the right vanishing point. We're going to close it off about half of the distance from here to here. Notice how I use the rule of half on this side. Get segment A to the border, you find the back segment. Halfway between segment A and your form B, I'm going to close this off too. Alright, so now we got sort of a cube forming or a box forming. It's a little bit different than this one. In other words, not both sides are not symmetrical, it's asymmetrical. Finish this off, we go to the corner, take a corner inventory, and it says that this corner is created with a vertical line and a left vanishing point line. So that means that there's only one place left to go. It's way over here. All right. Now, I've told you before, it'd probably be easier to draw these lines. They won't bow as much. Mine is bowing somewhat, but it's within tolerance of a thickness of a pencil. You can turn your paper so that you pull those lines. It'd be easier to make straight lines that way. Do another corner inventory over here on this side. It basically is vertical into the right vanishing point. So that means it kind of goes this way. Again, I'm not accurate on these lines. I am sort of sketching them in. And then what I'm going to do is I'll come back when I darken these in. Darken in the baseline. I do not join them in the middle there. Let's help establish this a little bit. You can come back and sort of just release it this way, rather than drawing it. Then you can sort of see the form in there. Let's go ahead, add in some hatching, and then do the cross hatching. And this will give us the concept, a few surface lines on it, give us the concept of that form there. We're going to go ahead and put a little shading and a little shadow work. We're going to follow the same rules we mostly did. Again, you don't have to always pull the lines all the way across, just as long as they're going to the right direction. Again, 45-degree angle trick here. This will show me where the end of the shadow will be. And it goes to the left vanishing point. Use your eraser, clean it up a little bit. Again, these do not need to be perfect. This is just a lesson. They're just sketches. Alright. Now, as you can see, 3 direction lines. It's either going to be vertical, right vanishing point, or left vanishing point. Let's go ahead and jump on over and do C now here. I purposely made this one a little bit closer to the edge because we're going to run into something that we spoke about last week, which is called foreshortening. Foreshortening is distortion caused by perspective. Remember, whenever you get closer to the vanishing points, the more the object will be distorted. So this line is actually going to go up here and here to the right vanishing point. Let's cut it off following the rule of half, halfway between the segment C and the border. And this is going to be the right-hand side of the cube or box we're making here. Now we're going to pull the longest lines we've had to pull so far. And it's going to go way over here. Again, multiple lines work out better. They're going to bow a little bit, and that's quite alright. Check it out. I like to lay a long pencil down here and make it look like it's pointing to the vanishing point. And that will tell me whether or not I'm somewhat correct. And that works out pretty good. Let's go ahead and close this cube form off. Go up to the left-hand corner. And then go ahead and pull it across. Now, I do know that I'm running this a lot faster than I normally would, but on this tape, you'll have the ability to go ahead and pause it whenever you get a little bit behind. And you can even rewind to figure out how things are going. Go to the right-hand corner, close off the form by dragging this to the left vanishing point. Again, you don't have to drag them all the way across, just as long as you get sort of the general idea. Let's go ahead, darken up the baseline, throw in a little bit of shading. Remember, this is hatching, this is not scribbling. And I'm just using sort of pressure to change it up. Cross direction, going back this way. A few lines on top. You can separate the form from the extension lines. It helps out a little bit. And the shadow comes off the baseline to the right vanishing point. Now something unique is going to happen here. Again, that light's still at a 45-degree angle coming down. But what's going to happen is this line will continue straight down, and it will probably go off the page before it matches that corner. So in this case, you're just going to have to close it off somewhere and just pull it across. It'll be fine. Now that's the easiest way to do segments A, B, and C. Pretty easy to do. I'm going to go ahead now and drop another cube in right at this point off of segment C. Vertical line somewhere between there. Put another cube into here. A lot of the lines are already laid in there, so it makes it a lot easier to do. As you can see, all those are already sitting in there. Makes it really sweet. Okay. So you can see how this works. So you see how that kind of plays, just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and work on the things that are above it. A little bit different, a little bit harder. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a segment here and make sure that it splits the horizon line. And the one over here will sit on the horizon line. Okay? This one here, now we're going to make a big cube, starting off with the big shape first. It's going to go halfway between here and there. We're just going to call this D, and this one F. Okay, so we got this big cube happening here. And then we're going to sort of lightly lay it out, bringing it somewhat back to the center of this picture. Oh no, I messed up, didn't I? Yeah, that can't work. This has to go not to the center point, but to this one over here. That's right. And that one's fine. This one over here, again, doesn't go to the center point. It goes all the way across over here. This one goes all the way across over there. And so we got that big form there. Then what we're going to do is come on over and do another big cube right over here. These will all go down to the left vanishing point, to the right vanishing point. And we're going to close it off like this here. Sort of following the rule of half each time. Alright. Let's go ahead and do something. Let's close this off, divide this in threes. We've done this before. And then let's erase this top line between this two. And then finish off the corner. Corner inventory, left vanishing point, vertical, so that means this has to go to the right vanishing point. So what we're doing is sort of creating this rather tall skyscraper type of thing. Let's see how this all kind of works. Come to this corner, figure out that it goes to the left vanishing point. So this could look like tall buildings off on the horizon line. We'll let you shade and shadow these as it goes. Then what we're going to do is run on over this side. We're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to make this look like a huge table. Sort of like what we did earlier this week. A little bit different. So this is sort of reminiscent of the tables we did a while ago. Let's go ahead and add the top. So it'll look like this. And this one will come off back here. These go to the right vanishing point, left vanishing point. And then we're going to add the thickness to this leg here. And same thing on this one here. So you're going to see how that kind of plays. Make a tabletop there. Now, I wanted to talk about this one specifically. You ought to be able to shade these things. There's something special you need to know about the way these shade is, remember, the hatching lines are easy enough to figure out. They're vertical, but the cross hatching will have to go to the points. Best way to figure this out is put some guidelines in here. Each of these guidelines go to the left vanishing point. So then when you get the guidelines in and then you go to darken it in, they were there to help guide your hatching. Just sort of like that. And the same thing will happen on this and on this one over here. So make sure you shade these in. Same thing's going to happen here a little bit differently. You're going to see here that when you put in the hatching here, it's not going to hatch all the way the same going down. It's going to start going up here, but then as it goes higher and higher and higher, the angle is going to get sharper and sharper and sharper. And those are the things that I'm looking for. Finish off the other side sort of the same way. Make yours a lot neater than mine. And then when you get into a situation like this, we're going to have to make sure that this is the darkest. You can almost sort of follow the outside edge. Put it in like this. All right, go ahead and work your way through there. I want to see what you can do to finish these things. Make it all kind of work out and